Hello and welcome to another episode of Mike and Dave's Hi-Fi Riff. I'm Mike Evans.
And I'm David Price.
And David, on this week's episode, what are we going to be talking about?
It's a great new integrated amp from Name, Mike.
No, it's not. It's not, although I know where you're going with this. It's not. Go on, what is it?
It's the Fel Audio Fel amp.
And I can't understand for a second why you think that it looks like the Name amplifier.
No idea.
I tell you what, it almost feels... It feels as well built as one.
Yeah.
Holy moly! I'm quite shocked picking this up as to actually how heavy this this chap is. It's a serious bit of kit, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
I'm incredibly impressed. Yes, I know what you mean. It does have a little bit of that flavour about it.
Yep.
But I've got to say, I think they've nailed the brief because I think this looks gorgeous.
Yep.
I think this is a really fabulous looking amp, and we've had it with the Fel Audio CD player as well, haven't we?
Yes.
We've had them both together, and both together they look equally stunning.
Yes.
Some fabulous hi-fi.
Yeah.
But I like the design, and I'll tell you why, because for me it's a kind of a bit of a mix between modern and retro.
Yes.
So, and you said earlier, and this is really cool, if you were to put chrome around the edge, maybe you'd have a kind of retro sort of Name feel.
Yeah, chrome bumper Name, isn't it?
But so. I really like, I just really like the way it's really gorgeous with this sort of almost haptic feedback touch controls.
Yeah.
Whether you want to change the input, do you want to demonstrate it?
Yeah, there we go.
Which is really lovely, isn't it? I love that little click from the relay.
Yep.
And then I like just little touches of detail, like this overhang here, as it reminds me of some of the amps from yesterday, these old creaks and...
But there's definitely an A&R A60, early A60
there really
vibe
is.
to that.
There really is, which was a really cool looking amplifier, wasn't it? So, and then, everything feels pretty good.
Yeah.
Buttons feel good, and so on. Isn't it weird for me to focus on the front rather than go straight to the back panel? What's going on?
It's this is how serious Mike is, viewers, about the fascia styling and the ergonomics, because normally it doesn't give us stuff about what's
no, exactly.
It's normally look at those.
I just think it looks super
smart. Those RCA phonos on the back. So
absolutely,
yeah. So
now this is uniquely for a quite low cost amp.
Yes,
made in Britain.
It is.
It's made in Britain, isn't it?
Well, near uniquely. There are a few others. Firstly Audio.
Yes,
and Riga.
Yeah.
But
not quite in this price range though.
Yeah, I mean, it's firstly the company itself. Fel Audio is a new company, and that's unique. A new British company doing an amplifier that's made in Britain, pretty much. It's all made in Britain. Even the power transformer and circuit boards and so on are made in the UK. Obviously, it's got some Chinese passive components in, but so is every other amplifier on the planet.
Yes.
But it's a really good, really nicely finished and well made and pleasantly styled integrated amp for, I think, 599 quid.
That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, made in the UK.
How can they do that for less than £600?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just mad. Because it's not just very simply an amplifier. It's got at least 3 really cool features. So first of all, you've got a bit of Bluetooth going on.
Yep.
Now, I know maybe that's not quite your or my thing.
No.
But I've had this now over Christmas, and it's been in the system.
Yeah.
And I've actually really enjoyed having it in the system, I've got to say, first and foremost. Yeah. But it means my family can just use Spotify and connect via Bluetooth, which is so cool. Because they're not moaning at me because they don't know how to turn the hi-fi on.
Yeah.
The other things are around the back.
Mike's really excited now, folks.
Look, nothing gets past me. Look,
there we go.
It's got a DAC. It's got a DAC built in.
It's got a Toslink optical, a coaxial digital in, and Bluetooth antenna there.
Isn't that wicked?
It's really good.
That's so cool, isn't it? So, what DAC has this got in it?
It's an ESS Sabre ES9018.
I knew you'd
something
know that.
or other.
I knew you'd know exactly that. And it's pretty good.
Well, there we go.
It's not the sort of last word in DACs, but it enables the whole amp to actually have a digital input without an extra box, which is super useful.
Indeed,
it's really
cool. 9018 K2M. I know you wanted to.
Thank you. Yes.
You really needed the full thing there.
Appreciate that.
But basically, that's a perfectly decent DAC. It's been in a lot of other bits of kit over the last few years. And more importantly, they didn't just bung it in. It actually sounds really good through its digital inputs.
It does.
Yeah.
And thing number 3.
Yep.
It's got a moving coil stage.
Moving magnet phono.
Moving magnet stage.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
That's so excellent.
Yep.
I'm so chuffed about that because you want to play your records if you've got them, don't you? So
yes,
it's just another compelling reason to buy this as a terrific amplifier.
Yeah, well, it's hard to fault at that price, especially when the moving magnet phono stage is so good.
Yes,
and I actually, while I was reviewing it for StereoNET last month, I spent a lot of time listening to it through the phono stage. I used my Technics SL10, which is a great sort of compact turntable, and it sounded great. Had an Autophon, I think it's got an OM10 in there, and sounded fantastic.
Perfect.
Yeah,
perfect.
So it's much better than the phono stage you get in many cheap amplifiers. Very often they're just there to tick boxes.
Yes,
sort of like, it's got that.
So
yeah,
it's Class D.
Yes,
and we've had a few run-ins with Class Ds over Hi-Fi Riff times, haven't we? And before, and sometimes not as enamoured as we could be.
True,
even with some of the really expensive ones. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. We've we're not pro or against it. We just take them as we find them, don't we? And we've heard some sort of 9-10 grand Class D amps that have really been quite mediocre and underwhelming. And Class D, when it's not done well, can sound, I think, rhythmically, slow and kind of laboured, can't it?
It can.
The bass is soggy, and you kind of get a processed sound.
Yes.
And a little slightly funny, phasey, or slightly gloopy, almost treble.
So here's my question.
Yeah.
So this doesn't do any of those horrible things.
No, it doesn't.
So what have they done? What have Fell Audio done to make it work properly?
Yeah. Well, that's I think they've designed the circuit well. They've implemented it well. It's got a good power supply, and they're using an ST microelectronics chip, which is really unusual. It's not very common in the UK. Everyone normally uses the Hypex and the Encore and that kind of thing, or even Ice Power. But so it's an unusual chip choice. It's quoted as putting 49 watts RMS per channel, and it's said to go up to 78, I think, into 4 ohms. It's 49 into 8. So even though it's not super powerful, it drives current loads well, drives lower loads well, and I don't know, for whatever reason, I'm sure that it's got a very good toroidal power supply as well. I'm sure that helps a lot.
Yes.
But it just doesn't sound like a bad Class A, whereas you'd kind of expect it to at this price. Class D.
Class D, sure.
It doesn't, which you'd expect it to at this price. It's musical. It's sort of fun. It's quite engaging, isn't it?
It's great. It's dynamic.
It's surprisingly dynamic.
Great stereometry.
Yeah.
Plenty of power.
Yeah.
For the speakers I've been driving with them.
Yeah.
So really, really liking it.
Yeah.
Really happy with it.
At the price, it's very it's very impressive, and it doesn't have that sort of super processed sound, that kind of plasticky sound. So.
No, not in the least.
No,
not in the least.
Yeah, so
it's really capable. It really is. I'm still cannot get my head around the fact that it's under £600. I just think that's absolutely remarkable. Don't know quite how they've done it for that, because most companies nowadays outsource to China because it's cheaper.
Yeah,
they've managed to build a quality British amplifier.
Yeah.
On a very sensible price point.
Yeah,
very sensible price point.
From what I gather as well, Fell Audio obviously is a brand new company, and it's kind of a labour of love. So the people behind it are Luke and Matthew Tyson.
Oh yes, okay. Okay.
You've been to Carlisle, haven't you, Mike?
I have many times. Yes. Yeah.
So my mum's side of the family live in Cumbria, and quite close to Carlisle. And I know Peter Tyson Hi-Fi very well.
Yeah.
And they're a fantastic dealer up in Carlisle, and even I had David Tyson set my Lynn LP12 up.
Oh, look at that! Excellent.
Yeah. So, and he did a really good job as well. So,
excellent.
They're not kind of messing around. They do really good high-end stuff and really good affordable stuff. But one of the Tyson brothers has got into this project. Well, two of them have, and they're very enthusiastic about it. And Luke Tyson said to me, he said the great thing about the development process for this is that, given that they spend a lot of their time in Peter Tyson Hi-Fi, they have access to a vast amount of kit that's on the market.
Absolutely,
and amazing listening rooms.
Yes.
So you can literally just pick anything, any number of different amps that they sell, and A/B it with that, and decide, where it's good, where it's bad, what needs to be changed. So the process, the amp itself took 3 years, I think, something like 3 years to develop, and being very Cumbrian, they're very proud of that. So there's I think the name's great, Fell. If you're from the States or from down south in England, Fell is kind of Cumbrian slang, I suppose, for hill, and but it's not like the hills you have down here in Oxford.
No. Proper.
Go walking in the Cumbrian fells, and you can be. It'll really take it out of you. It's a very good way to get fit, actually. Go on holiday to Cumbria, and go walk up the fells.
And go to Peter Tyson Audio while you're there.
Indeed, yes. And then enjoy some very nice beverages in Carlisle.
Can I just say, you make a really great point, because I don't think an awful lot of hi-fi manufacturers have that ability to be able to listen and do the A/B dem compared to other manufacturers. So when I was in retail, we used to have a guy who used to come around almost every week called Tom Evans.
Yes.
And Tom is a hi-fi designer, very capable one as well. And he used to bring his amps round.
Yeah.
And he was always saying, "Oh, can I just try it with this? Can I listen to it against that? Can I see what it's like against this?" And that's almost how he fine-tuned his amp by coming to our dealer and sort of listening to all the other stuff we had on offer. And he wanted his to be better than all the others.
Yeah. So basically, you were a free research and development
we were, but it was good fun. And Tom was a really nice guy, so we didn't really mind. When I say is, I'm sure. And the amp which he was designing at the time was something called the Fenestra.
Yes.
Which is a really gorgeous preamp, and if you have a chance to get one, then get one.
Do you have a Fenestra by any chance?
Might do.
Okay. Well, it'd be nice if we can do a riff on it, actually.
We should. You should listen to it, actually, because it is a stunningly good preamplifier. But the whole point here is, that's how he did his R&D, and if these guys have done something similar, then, hats off to you, and you've got that availability to do it, which is brilliant.
Well, I mean, just apropos of that, I've obviously been to many different manufacturers over the last 30 years that I've been writing about hi-fi, and it has genuinely shocked me that some manufacturers have really poor selection of other manufacturers' kit to benchmark it against.
Yes.
So I'm sure they'll go to dealers or they'll go to the distributors and get stuff in. I'm not saying that they don't listen to it against stuff, but you'd think that major manufacturers would have basically everything the opposition is doing in their listening room, and doing a direct comparison with it on a daily basis.
But it's not the case at
all.
Not
the case at all.
No.
And that's weird. And the other thing is that as a hi-fi journalist, I've obviously had to review loads and loads of stuff, so I kind of have got a pretty good idea of what's out there. Not perfect, but probably better than most people. But the only people who know more than I do, in my experience, are dealers.
Yes, it's true. Yeah, they hear everything. Yeah,
actually get loads of stuff in and are constantly playing it and demming it. And they really, really know their onions. They really know their stuff. So
that's a really good point, actually.
Yeah.
And also, I think when you're demming to the public, then it becomes very apparent, what's hot and what's not, because most people have also can hear the difference quite easily.
Yeah.
So if you do have a great product, then for a start, it's really easy to sell.
Yeah.
And in fact, we've in my time, that we had some real issues with that.
Yeah.
And I'll bring this back to this.
Yeah.
But if you can imagine the Riga Planner 3, actually made it really hard to sell.
Yeah.
Turntables of twice the price.
Yeah.
Because the Riga was so good at that price point.
Yeah.
And if you wanted something like a Lin Axis, it was quite a difficult sale because the Lin Axis was more expensive, but maybe not twice as good. Maybe not as good at all. Full stop.
Yeah.
Exactly the same here, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I can see this being a kind of a hi-fi distributor's dream and nightmare at the same time. Because it sounds so good and it's so easy to sell.
Yeah.
Nightmare because you could put it against an amp twice the price and it will be better.
And you get bigger margins on more expensive stuff.
Exactly.
Or you get if you get the same margin but you get more money for selling something.
Exactly. Yeah. But from a consumer point of view, this is a fantastic product, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree. And
just a brilliant product.
I think they've done brilliantly. I mean, normally when you see new companies, I mean, I've seen many new companies pop up, some of which have gone on to be absolutely brilliant, super successful, and others have just fallen on their face completely over the years. But normally you kind of, often the first product or the first couple of products are like a bit kind of, well, it's good, but it's not, it's kind of not quite there.
Yes.
But to me, this is like a completely complete package out of the box. It's really hard to criticize. And, the only thing I would change maybe would be to get a more higher powered chip in it, and then you'd sell it for twice the price, because it's how can I put this? So in today's world, we're used to really quite a lot of power from our amplifiers. And obviously this is a very budget amp. And so it's perfectly fine for it to be only 50 watts per channel into 8 ohms. But, if you have twice as much power, it opens up the field to, being able to drive many more speakers. And
sure.
Normally, small speakers are less efficient than large ones. So if you've got like LS35As or something, it will still this will still drive them, but you get a big benefit from having more power.
Yes.
So obviously at 600 quid, you can't ask for everything.
No, of course not.
I'm just saying that it's so good that really the next step is just a more powerful version of this.
Yes.
So
and I don't want to give the game away too much. So we did allude to this earlier, but they do have a CD player which matches.
Indeed, Fell Disc, it's called.
Yes, Fell Disc.
We'll be reviewing that. We will.
We have that to review. But needless to say, they make a great package between them. We won't say too much more about the CD player now.
Absolutely. There's also a streamer coming pretty soon as well.
Exciting stuff.
I've heard the disc and the streamer, and they're all great. So basically, I think this new range of kit, will really take shape in 2025, and I think they've got plans to do all kinds of interesting things. So it's a startup, it's a new venture, it's done with people who know what they're doing, and be able to A/B test it against the competition exhaustively. They didn't just think of doing it, 3 months ago. It's had a lot of it's arrived as the finished article, I think.
Yes,
which is great.
It looks gorgeous. It sounds great. It's really well built. Yeah, we love it. It's fantastic.
So I mean, I think Riga and Edwards Audio are definitely very good sounding competitors to it, and using Class AB as well. So again, that's down to taste, but at the price, I think this is hard to beat. Very hard to beat.
And I'm going to ask you the question.
Yeah.
So on your Riffometer, bearing in mind it's £595.
Yes.
What are you going to give it?
Well, at the price, I'm going to give it a 10.
So am I.
Yeah.
So am I. You can't buy better hi-fi £595. It's as simple as that. Simple as that.
I do hate giving 10s or even giving 9s, but I mean, I'd just be, being sort of contrary.
It's too good not to.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's too good not to.
So
loving that. Fell Audio guys, fantastic. 2 10 out of 10s and richly deserved as well.
Yeah.
So keep up the good work. We look forward to listening to your streamer. And as I say, as you say, we'll do a review of the CD player as well coming soon.
Indeed. And absolutely. So a great start, and the Lake District is now becoming a heaving centre of hi-fi.
It is.
And what's wrong with that?
It's the new Tokyo.
Absolutely. It's the new Tokyo. You've got you know, Peter Tyson and Fell Audio up north in Cumbria, and Russ Andrews down in the South Lakes.
And you've got the Wasdale head in for a pint of Theakston's Old Peculiar, somewhere between the two.
Indeed.
Look at that. What's not to like?
It's a great place. Yeah.
Excellent. And on that note, guys, thank you so much for watching. Hugely appreciated, as always. And we'll see you at the next episode of Mike and Dave's Hi-Fi Riff. Thanks very much. Bye.
Bye.